Since 1923, the world's best have fought for Le Mans glory and the immortality that awaits any who can meet its challenge. Now, Le Mans comes to America. What better place to begin the inaugural American Le Mans Series than the birthplace of endurance racing in the United States, Sebring, Florida. In 1950, Alec Ullman wanted to create his own American version of Le Mans, so he laid out a racetrack on this sleepy Central Florida airport. The 50s and 60s saw Sebring become an international showplace as manufacturers such as Cunningham, Ferrari, Ford, Jaguar, and Porsche claimed Sebring glory with cars driven by the sport's best, men like Phil Hill, Mario Andretti, and Dan Gurney. Today, with the inaugural race of the American Le Mans Series, Sebring retakes its rightful place on the world stage. For the 47th time, the heavy hitters of worldwide sports car racing have gathered under a bright Florida sun for this once-around-the-clock marathon. Welcome to the 47th Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring, presented by the new Dodge. Welcome to one of the great places in sport, everyone. I'm Bob Barsha, and great sporting events are so much about place. Think of Wimbledon in tennis or Augusta National in golf. So it is here at Sebring, where a driver can literally drive in the tracks of some of the sports legends over the last 50 years. Now, we often talk about Sebring and the 24 Hours of Le Mans in France as sister events. That relationship is now official, thanks to the dawning of the American Le Mans Series. 8 races around the United States this summer run under the rules of the French Classic. The result is one of the greatest fields of cars and drivers we've ever seen here at Sebring. 58 cars representing a dozen manufacturers, including the successful ones you see there. Ticket sales have been running some 40% ahead of previous years. We should have a record crowd on hand under beautiful blue skies, and the quality of the driving field is second to none. Starting from pole position is a classic example of the new Sebring, a state-of-the-art car from a legendary manufacturer with a vastly experienced driver at the controls. With more on that story, here's Steve Evans.
Well, Bob, BMW enthusiasts all over the world will be thrilled to know that their brand new car, the BMW LMR V12, is on the pole. Its first outing, and Finnish driver J.J. Leto put it there at over 121 miles an hour. And J.J., what can you and your fellow drivers do to save this car, bring it home in one piece after 12 hours?
Well, it's a fresh BMW car, so this is the first race for us, and it's a very good practice race for the real Le Mans for June. So that's why we came here, just to see how reliable the car is at the moment. But, you know, the whole team, BMW Schnitzer team, has been working very hard all week to make it as reliable as possible, and all the guys has been doing a good job. So we're just hoping to see it in the end of 12 hours.
Best of luck to you, JJ. And remember, guys, this car is starting on Michelin tires. Michelin has never won here at Sebring.
All right, thanks, Steve. In a moment, they will have that opportunity. Joining me now, ESPN sports car analyst and 5-time Sebring competitor, Jeremy Dale. Jeremy, we talked about the Le Mans rules. That could well be a factor in this race.
Well, it's a great thing for sports car racing fans because for the first time in a long, long time, there's a common rules package between North America and Europe. And it's just a fabulous thing for sports car racing and for sports car racing fans.
1999 starts fresh with a rules package that mirrors that of the ACO, the group that sets the rules for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. These rules encourage manufacturer involvement while providing a good opportunity for privateers. GTP is the fastest class. It's a combination of world sports cars, Le Mans prototypes, and GT1 cars. All cars carry 90 liters of fuel, and no cars are permitted traction control or ABS systems. The GTS category is what used to be GT2. These production-based cars have bigger tires, bigger engines, and better aerodynamics for 1999. Most are privately entered, but the factory Corvettes have dominated the timesheets. The GT category was known as GT3. Also production-based, but less powerful than GTS cars, GT rules have not changed for 1999. This class is traditionally a Porsche BMW battleground. But probably the most obvious change for American race fans will be the Le Mans-style pit stop. You won't see any 6-second pit stops here because the American Le Mans Series rules do not permit the crew to work on the car while it's being refueled. That means pit stops will be longer and tire management will be more critical.
No question about it. The pit rules could be key in this race. Now let's talk about how the teams can take maximum advantage, Jeremy.
Well, it really is a tire issue because you cannot change tires while the car is refueling. That means if you can make your tires last 2 or 3 stints, which is what they do at Le Mans, that will be a major advantage for these teams. But what we're really going to be watching is the American teams that aren't used to this format. And we're going to be watching them very closely as they try and instinctively go out and work on those cars while they're being refueled.
We should keep in mind, too, the Sebring track is very tough on tires. Now, as Jeremy mentioned, there are 3 classes in action. Let's meet our pole sitters in the GTS class now. Here's Dave Burns.
It's big, it's back, and it is bad fast. But speed has never been a problem for the Corvette CR5. It is back here at Sebring and trying to do a little better than it did at Daytona, where it finished 3rd in its class, but it was very, very fast. It sits on the pole here today. And Ron Fellows, what about it? The engineers were all over this thing for about a month. Where did they go to try to make this thing the leader at the end of 12 hours?
Well, we learned twice around the clock at Daytona, and we went 20 hours there. It was 4 hours too long in Daytona. Everybody worked hard here. We feel pretty confident that we can be fast and make the 12 hours. Sebring is a very, very tough track, but we're pretty confident with the Corvette.
All right, now Steve Evans is with the final class today. It is a GT class. Steve?
And Porsche has won more races here at Sebring than any other mark, 17. If they want number 18, their best chances with this Porsche RSR car. It is a number 22 car driven by Randy Popes. And Randy, of all the drivers out here, you spend more time looking in your mirror than out the windshield for fear somebody's going to run into the back of you.
Well, the WeatherTech Porsche 911 has been set up by Alex Job Racing to be one of the quickest cars out here in the corners that's not a WSC. So we do have the challenge of finding our speed amongst the traffic around us. It's a lot like driving downtown at 5 o'clock at rush hour, and it's a ball. I look forward to it.
Great attitude, Bob Barsha.
It is rush hour at about 120 miles an hour per lap, that is. We'll be visiting history here at Sebring throughout the show, beginning right now. In 1955, Sebring witnessed an incredible race. For 12 hours, the Jaguar D-Type of Mike Hawthorne and Phil Walters battled with the red Ferrari of Phil Hill and Carroll Shelby before the Jaguar went on to win. Later that year, Hawthorne added the 24 Hours of Le Mans, becoming the first driver to complete the endurance double in 1 year. Jackie Ickx and Jackie Oliver did it as co-drivers, while Stefan Johansson and Hans Stuck are in today's race. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring is being brought to you by Exxon Superflow Motor Oil. Provides protection that's fast, protection that lasts. By the Olive Garden. When you're here, your family. And by Suzuki. During Suzuki Fest 99, get $400 worth of free accessories and great financing on selected models. Welcome back to Sebring. It is time for the field of 58 to come to life. Ready to give the command, Mr. Paul White, Exxon Lubricants Manager.
Exxon Superflow supports gentlemen or drivers. Start your engines.
Good job, everybody. Thank you.
The field is now fired up, preparing to roll off. Now let's take a look at the battlefield with our Olive Garden course description.
Well, Sebring International Raceway, of course, very historic, 3.7 miles, and this is the 7th revision of the original track. Mainly, it's been shortened over the years, but the big change this year is down at the hairpin. It's been pulled back to create a safer runoff area in the braking zone. But the big problem is going to be after the initial turn-in, there's this little left-right jog, and I'm predicting that's going to create big, big problems for the faster cars in traffic all day. The other big deal is down at 17. The cars now run down the back straight with the wall there on your right, and the cars pop out from behind that wall. There's not nearly as much room in that braking zone down there for passing as they head under the bridge out onto the main straight here at Sebring.
All right, thanks very much, Jeremy Dale. There you see the field still set, preparing to roll off. We'll take a break and return with the starting grid and then the green flag at the 47th Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring. Don't go away. Back to Sebring, Florida, and the Superflow 12 Hours of Sebring. The cars are on track, warming up tires and engines. Let's take a look at our starting grid for this classic race. On the pole with a record lap averaging 121.25 miles an hour, the all-new BMW V12 with J.J. Leto at the controls. He'll be partnered by former Le Mans winner Tom Christensen of Denmark and German Jörg Müller, a winner of the 24 Hours at Daytona. Here's a look at the rest of the lineup. The first 10 starters, the biggest field of GT prototype cars ever seen here at Sebring, some 30 strong. Now, the grid was shuffled through the morning hours. We lost one car in the warm-up, and several cars have decided to change tire compounds. They will go to the back of the grid. Starting back in the number 27 spot on row 14 will be our leaders in the GTS category, moving up to 26th after one GTP car dropped out after that crash in the warm-up. Ron Fellows, Chris Neifel, and John Paul Jr., the only Sebring winner on the driving strength of that fabulous new Chevy Corvette. On the next page, our pole sitters in the GT category. Also production-based vehicles, very close to what you buy from the showrooms. Starting from pole, we met them earlier. Alex Job Racing Porsche 911 RSR. Randy Popes put it on pole at record time. He'll be joined by Mark Fitzgerald and David McNeil. Here's a look at the rest of the field. They will come around to take the green flag in the 47th revival of one of the greatest events in sports car racing. Now let's take a look at our onboard cameras, and we have one in our pole-sitting BMW LMR driven by Formula One kart and sports car veteran J.J. Leto. This is on the long backstretch. On board the number 11 Ferrari, led by two-time sports car champion Wayne Taylor. A very strong driver lineup here. Taylor suffered from flu at Daytona earlier this year, but he is healthy and ready to go now. Also, we have a camera on board the number 27 Ferrari. Freddie Leinhardt and two former winners of this race as teammates, Didier Taze, who will start the car, and Mauro Baldi of Italy. On board the number 38 champion Porsche, starting in the number 18 spot. Another Formula One winner, Terry Boutsen, will start. Bob Wallach on that driving team as well. On board the number 3 Corvette. Pole sitters in the GTS category, Ron Fellows, Chris Neifel, and John Paul Jr., as we mentioned earlier. Now on board the number 10 BMW. Two-time winners of this race in what is now the GT category. The Prototype Technology Group out of Virginia. Another strong line. Now let's go to Steve Evans.
There is drag racing, there is IndyCar racing, there was everything imaginable going on in the Sunshine State this weekend. But let me tell you what, as you said earlier, Bob, the big crowd, the international crowd is here at Sebring. And if you want to know more about the International Le Mans Series, pick up this weekend's edition of USA Today. It is an 8-page supplement jammed with information. I think Bob is using the booth as his Bible. Bob?
Good idea, Steve. As the field comes down, the green flag waves, and we are underway at Sebring. And J.J. Leto got outfoxed at turn 1.
And that is the Raffinelli, Riley, and Scott car. That's Judd V10 power in that car. Shared the front row, actually split those V12 BMWs, continues to lead. Here we go on board with J.J. Leto back in second position as they head down to the revised hairpin under the two bridges, the drive-over bridge and the Exxon walkover bridge. And this straightaway has been shortened quite a bit.
Eric Van de Poel from Belgium as we go on board with Didier Taze, just recovering there from a quick twitch in the Ferrari.
Wow, that looked like a big twitch. I'm not sure that wasn't a hit of some kind.
Now coming up to speed, racing toward the backside of this racetrack. Through the Fangio chicane into the Collier curve. Sam Collier, who was the namesake of the original running of this race when it was a 6-hour event, the Sam Collier Memorial, back on New Year's Eve in 1950. And a twitch right there, perhaps still cold tires on that Riley and Scott.
Absolutely. This is Angelelli. We go on board, and that is the Panos. Now, the car in front last year would have been in the GT1 category, but these cars have been equalized for 99 under Le Mans and American Le Mans rules. So these cars now carry identical amounts of fuel, and of course, the GT1 cars used to have the ABS and the traction control.
Mad Max Angelelli. He drove with the team at the 24 Hours of Daytona earlier this year. The leader to the left of your screen, Eric Van de Poel, in that Riley and Scott Mark III with a Formula One derived Judd V8 engine.
V10 engine in that car.
Right.
But for Riley and Scott fans, you can see, look at already a little bit of smoke coming out of that Judd. Oh my. But that is a Riley and Scott, though it doesn't really look a lot like a Riley and Scott, especially the tail section, because the Raffinelli team has done a tremendous amount of work. And these guys are so motivated to beat this factory BMW team. They're just so pumped up that they were on the front row. And this program is a very young program, only came together at the end of January.
Fans of Formula One will remember that Judd as the V10 that was under the Yamaha nameplate for a few fairly unsuccessful years in Formula One. There's the Max Angelelli Olive Garden Ferrari 333 SP. V12 Ferrari power in that car. Rotary and piston powered, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 cylinders. We have them all here.
Yeah, I love the mechanical diversity in sports car racing. It is just so exciting to see all this new machinery. We haven't really gotten to it yet, but there's some very interesting Audis in this field, and we'll get to that. But right now, up front, a great battle with that Raffinelli, Riley and Scott, and there's two factory BMWs.
Opening laps of the 12-hour sprint. Not so much an endurance race as it is an all-out blast at Sebring. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring. Bob Varsha, Jeremy Dale with you. Dave Burns and Steve Evans in the pit lane. This race has started off at a furious pace. To the left of your screen, the race leader, Eric Van der Poel, and that Riley and Scott with a Judd Formula One V10. His first lap averaged 119 miles an hour plus. That would have qualified him on the second row for this race.
Well, you want to know what's so interesting about this is the Raffinelli team has tremendous history with the BMW mark, believe it or not. And Raffinelli was vying for this BMW program and didn't get it. So these guys have tremendous motivation. Their mood is, okay, well, we're going to show these guys who they should have given this program to.
In fact, Eric Van der Poel said they really didn't make the decision to come here until the end of January. Built up the car in a big hurry, got very little testing time. So that car is very much an experiment.
Well, the idea is to make that Judd V10 a customer V10 endurance racing engine to go up against these factory teams. And John Judd and company and Raffinelli, the Raffinelli team are proving right now that this car clearly has the speed to run with the factory cars. Will it have the reliability?
Onto the front straightaway along the pit straight, which doubles as a drag strip here. You saw the little burnout area at the top of that straightaway. Now to our GTS leader, the beautiful new Chevy CR5Rs.
And these are the cars that debuted in the Daytona 24-hour race. Came very close to winning that event, which would have been just spectacular. And the support for the Corvette brand there was just phenomenal. They will not be doing a lot of racing in 1999. They're planning on only one more event in 1999. Of course, that could change, but the big assault will be Le Mans in 2000.
Longfellow says much of the development of this car, this new Corvette, took place here at Sebring. So they have a pretty good read on what the suspension, the shocks and springs need in order to make the car run as low as possible for top speed, while at the same time clearing this very bumpy racetrack.
And you could see the car through turn one, which really is one of the most bumpy areas on the racetrack, if not the most bumpy. They've done a lot of paving over the years, but certainly still turn one is very, very bumpy. The car really getting through turn one very nicely, not moving around a whole lot. If you go out and watch these cars, you'd be amazed at how much they move around over those old concrete slabs.
Longfellow's a vastly experienced driver with wins in Trans Am, GTPs, run Busch Grand National North cars on the NASCAR circuit. One of Canada's best. And he has done much of the development driving in this Corvette project, a full factory effort from Chevrolet.
And he will also do most of the development driving for the new Cadillac Le Mans car. They have announced a GT prototype car with a twin turbocharged Northstar V8, if you can believe that. And it really caught everyone in the racing community by surprise when General Motors announced that Cadillac is going to Le Mans.
It's all about performance in the marketplace. This is coming down the backside of this airport circuit. On the far side of the car, top of your picture, let's say, are runways that are still active this weekend. This is an operating airport here in Sebring. You can fly your airplane in here to come watch this race, along with an estimated 100,000 people who will pack this racetrack. As much a party as an athletic event and a motor race.
And of course, one of the, we mentioned in the opening of the show that there had been 7 revisions to this racetrack over the years, and the cars actually used to run on those active runways. And so that was one of the major revisions about 20 years ago. And I think up until about 1982, it ran pretty much in the original configuration.
Now let's check in on the GT class. Car number 22 is the race leader, currently shown in the 34th position overall. Porsche being shared by Mike Fitzgerald, Randy Pobst, who's driving it now, and David McNeil. There's the GT class standings. If you ever left your screen, Boris said in one of the BMW M3s running in second place.
And this Alex Job team, with these 911 Porsches, they won at Daytona, really surprised the BMW team of Tom Milner. And now they've taken the pole here, and they're really, I mean, their strategy is they know they're going to have to run flat out if they're going to beat these BMWs. They're going to have to run these cars at 100%, run them as hard as they can if they're going to beat these BMWs.
Just behind him there is the BMW M3, as Boris said, running in second position. This is for position in the GT class. Let's go on board with Boris, one of a big group of second-generation racers here at Sebring. His father, Bob, said raced here many times.
Won't be long before you see the overall leaders coming up to lap our leaders in GT. Those GTP cars are very, very quick. There's a good look at some lap times, but look at Boris. Boris wants to take that lead away from Randy Pobst, as does JJ Leto. Now here these guys come into this traffic, and this is what it's going to be like all day long.
This is with 5 laps complete around this 3.7-mile circuit. We're now encountering slower traffic. Amazing thing. GT cars caught out Leto there. That gave Eric Van der Poel the opportunity to take a breath. The BMW's running second and third, and they'll be back on the attack shortly. Stand by for more from the 12 hours at Sebring. We'll be right back. At Sebring here on ESPN, and we'll be coming back to you later today on ESPN2 at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, with more. The opening round of the American Le Mans Series. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of Go Network, go.com. Battles going on all around the racetrack. The GT battle right here. The Porsche number 22 and a pair of BMWs. As the race leaders come flying around to put them a lap down in the early laps of this race.
And look at the race leaders where they are now. They are gone.
Tremendous speed differentials here. From the pit lane, Dave Burns.
Bob, you talk about team orders. You've got the 10 car that Boris Said is driving, and also the 7 of Mark Simo. Right now, the 10 car battling for the lead is the faster car, the car that's set up with a more aggressive setup here today. They're hoping that the 10 car can win the race outright by pure speed if it lasts. But for the 7 car and Mark Simo and crew, they've got a softer, more forgiving setup that they hope is going to save both tires, wear on the car, and wear on the driver.
Thanks, Dave. No surprise, these cars were all running close together. They qualified within a half second of one another. Right now it is Porsche out front, the winningest class by far in Sebring history. There's one of the BMW M3s.
And the leaders coming through this battle has hurt Boris Said. There is James Weaver in the number 16 Dyson car. And look at the shenanigans here. This is that new section of racetrack, and it's causing a lot of confusion as predicted. And look at now how Boris has dropped back from the Alex Job Porsche.
That windshield wiper has come into good use in previous editions of this race. Rain has plagued the Superflow 12 hours at Sebring over recent years. But today the forecast is perfect, although it could get fairly hot. And that'll make things interesting. When the sun goes down, the temperature comes down, and the tire situation changes completely. Still running nose to tail up front. Eric Van der Poel, JJ Leto, and Yannick Dalmas in the second BMW V12 LMR.
This is Van de Poel, who has started this car and will set the tone for the rest of the team. His co-drivers are very young Formula 3000 drivers. They're not endurance racers. They've got the pure speed, but they don't have the experience in endurance racing. So it's Eric's job to tutor these guys and make sure that he sets the tone for this team to, yes, drive this car quickly, but to get it to the finish.
Those co-drivers are David Salens from Belgium and Thomas Enge from the Czech Republic.
And Mr. Raffinelli told me, he said, you know, our youngsters are probably quicker than Eric is, but we really need Eric to show these guys what they need to do to get this car to the finish.
Quick look from on board J.J. Leto's car. We go back on board now. Notice that roll bar in the rear view mirror at the center of your screen. That's been the topic of a lot of discussion this week.
Well, yeah, that's a revision for 1999, that single pointed roll bar. You can see how the roll bar, oh, look at this Leto alongside. This is on the outside, though. Going to have to use a lot of commitment to take this position away. But, boy, he wants it.
Scrambling through the chicane, looking for grip. The roll bar on the car ahead is the traditional one in this class, basically the width of the cockpit.
Exactly, but the new BMW has the single pointed roll bar, and there's been a great deal of debate about this, A, from a safety standpoint, and B, from a rule standpoint, because all the manufacturers know the less you have up in the airstream there, the less frontal area you expose to the airstream, the quicker the car is going to go, the more air is going to get to the rear wing, and so on. But it's a very, very big project to go back and redesign your car, so a lot of the other manufacturers are really up in arms about this BMW roll bar situation.
Board once again with Leto. GTS class leader runs in 27th position overall. The GT class leader 36th overall. With having to work the cars through traffic, the average lap speed has come down a bit. That last lap, 114.2 miles per hour.
And look at him there at the exit of turn one. Lots of hands on the wheel. A lot of motion in that wheel. The car really moving around and bouncing around. This is not where you want to get stuck behind a slower car through the carousel here. And you can see Van de Poel actually backed off a little bit there, so he didn't get bunched up. That's the kind of experience that you want. But Leto is right there. Van de Poel is going to have to defend this position, and Leto is going to take a shot down the outside.
Van de Poel will pin him behind that slower car up ahead. Great battle up front. Now notice J.J. Leto's steering wheel. It's one of those Formula One style yokes, much like a top fuel drag racer. On a track like this that is so bumpy, and occasionally a driver might lose his grip and have to grab for something, he's got a whole lot less wheel to grab than the others.
Absolutely, and plenty of buttons there to push. There's probably a speed limiter on there, and of course a radio button, a drink bottle button. There's a number of different things they can do from the steering wheel. Of course, unlike a Formula One car, they must take their hand off the wheel. No electromechanical shifting allowed. It's all mechanical, but it is a 6-speed sequential gearbox.
Working traffic once again. You can see this race is going down at the pace of a 20-lap main on a dirt track. This is a 12-hour race around one of the toughest racing circuits in the world. Eric Van de Poel remains the leader, looking for his third victory in this race. We'll take a break. We'll be back live to Sebring. Sebring on board the all-new Chevy Corvette C5R. Ron Fellows out of Toronto, Canada at the controls. A 6-liter Chevy LS1 engine, the replacement for the classic Chevy small block, making about 600 horsepower.
And if you thought you were seeing things there, that was in fact a wiper on the inside of that windshield, just in case you thought you were seeing things. There it is there on the left. That is the wiper that will demist the inside of the windshield so they don't have any fogging problems if it rains.
They use a lot of off-the-shelf production parts in these Corvettes, but the defroster is not one of them. And the leaders coming by, passing the GTS class leader, disappearing down the straightaway.
And you can see that that Corvette has very, very solid straightaway speed. But it's when they get into the braking zones and when they get into the fast, especially the high-speed corners, that's where the GTT cars will run away.
Steve Evans has more on the Corvette.
should be. General Motors is very proud of this Corvette, as well they should be, because this is not a race team they sponsor. These cars were built by General Motors engineers and campaigned and managed by General Motors people. And of course, the goal is to win Le Mans and lead Y2K. They hope to run only 2 or 3 more races this year. The fans hope they run a lot more. And I'm told by some insiders, if that car should win here today, there's a chance they may show it off around the country a little bit more than they originally planned.
And why not? Win on Sunday, or in this case Saturday, and sell on Monday. Or perhaps even Saturday.
Well, and, you know, we were at Daytona, and the excitement that surrounded the presence of this car was just phenomenal. They had a Corvette parade around the racetrack, and they had something like 300 Corvettes there, Corvette Club members. Just a phenomenal, you know, outpouring of emotion from Corvette owners and sports car racing fans in general. And there go the 2 Dyson cars.
Winners of the 24 Hours at Daytona earlier this year. Here's a look at the GTS leader once again, Ron Fellows. They have brought all sorts of technology to bear on these new Corvettes, and a great deal of expertise in constructing these cars. The cars look identical, but they were built by 2 different organizations. Riley and Scott, famed for their open cockpit machinery and IRL cars, and the Pratt & Miller concern up in Michigan. And those 2 companies crew the 2 cars. A lot of competition between the 2 drivers' lineups.
Yeah, of course, when you talk to General Motors, they tell you that basically it is run as one team, and I believe that, but I also believe that there has to be, it's only human nature that there would be rivalry between those 2 organizations to see who can put the best car on the racetrack.
Running in 2nd place now in GTS, you saw, is the car number 48, a European-based Porsche 911 Turbo, shared by Wolfgang Kaufmann of Germany, Michel Ligonnet of France, and Lance Stewart from Florida. You often see these kinds of international driver lineups at a race like the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring. Look at that ribbon of track just unroll underneath the car. And we have a new leader. Car number 43 being shared by Joe Winkelhock, Pierluigi Martini, and Yannick Dalmas. Check that. This is the number 43 car for Winkelhock, Martini, and Dalmas. One of the new BMWs. That is in 2nd place. Up the road, there is the 1st place sister car being shared by pole sitters J.J. Leto and company.
And what worries me is I don't see the 0 car in this frame at all. There is the leader. Shortly behind him, we will see the 2nd place car. Where is, and for some reason he's flashing his lights. We don't know quite why he would be flashing his lights.
Perhaps to let the cars ahead of him know he is coming at a tremendous clip. That's the fastest part of the racetrack down that backstretch.
But where is the 0 car is the big question. And this is where J.J. Leto wants to be. He wants to be out front, have the ability to set his own pace, which you know will be very quick. You'd rather not race wheel to wheel with someone in a 12-hour endurance race.
All new effort by BMW, whose worldwide motorsports involvement is taking a big jump this year and next. They're coming to Formula One with the Williams team in a year or so. And their worldwide efforts are being organized by perhaps one of the most unlikely candidates of all, the freest spirit of Formula One in recent years, Gerhard Berger.
And we also have in the field one of the 1998 BMW V12 Le Mans car. And it is in the field. Bill Oberlin is one of the co-drivers in that car, along with Steve Soper. We will see that car later, but that is the car that BMW ran at Le Mans in 1998. This is the 99 car. So they've had 1 year of experience with these open cockpit GTP cars, and they've used that experience to build an excellent race car.
Located the number 0 machine of Eric Van de Poel, who was running on the race lead from the original green flag in this race. Currently shown back in 4th spot.
there's his headlight flashing button right there in the steering wheel. That's pretty obvious.
Here comes pulling behind that Porsche with headlights on. There's the number 0, Van de Poel, who has dropped back for some unexplained reason.
Now that is the 26 car. That is Bill Auberlen in the 1998 BMW V12. And there is Eric Van de Poel. So now he's dropped back to 6th position, and he may be headed for the pit lane here. Yes, he is headed for the pit lane. The 0 car, 50-mile-an-hour speed limit on pit lane.
Early problems for the race leader.
Yes, this should be too early for a planned stop. Maybe not.
14 laps complete. This is taking place on lap 15. Crew not going to any part of the car to look for problems.
They can't touch the car until the fueling is done. The one fellow you saw running around the car with that little probe, he was checking brake disc temperatures with an infrared probe. So now it looks like the fueling is done. The rear bodywork may be coming off.
That's what I mean. Nobody went right to some part of the car ready to give it that quick once over. So no problems here, except the one to the car, of course. I would almost guarantee that some pit crew is going to jump over the wall and grab that car, being used to the old rules, and that will cost them some as yet undesignated penalty. We'll take a break and be back live to Sebring. Stay with us. Dale Jarrett is the defending champion of the NASCAR Winston Cup Trans-South Financial 400, coming your way from Darlington Raceway in South Carolina, Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com. There is your race leader here at the Superflow 12 Hours of Sebring, J.J. Leto. He put that car on pole. Moments ago, the previous race leader dropped back, is now in the pits. Dave Burns has more.
Bob, Eric Van der Poel sits silently in the 0 Team Raffinelli car right now. They think that it is in the electronic fuel injection. They have changed some electronics in the car. They're going to it. They don't think they have a motor problem. They've refueled the car and changed the tires to send him back out if they can fix it. But they do think it is electrical and in the fuel injection system.
Judd V10 engine. As you can see, a little difficult to get into that hot engine bay and get to whatever the problem might be. Meanwhile, the brand new BMW 12-cylinder LM continues on its merry way in the lead.
And of course, this car has a derivative of the V12 BMW motor that won at Le Mans in 1995 in the McLaren F1 car. So,
whoops, one of the Panos, the number 1 car for David Brabham, Eric Bernard, and Klaus Graf is losing body bits left and right.
well, there's a good look at the mechanical bits on the Panos, and a good look at those air inlet restrictors. It looks like it might have lost the nose on the front straightaway. There it is.
Wow. This is the home team, if you will. The Panos cars owned by Don Panos, who also owns the lease on the racetrack here at Sebring. These are 6-liter Ford V8s. Let's watch way at the back of your screen. Panos is on the front straight, and there goes the hood off this front engine car. And over the fence into an empty area, thankfully, before you get to the rows of recreational vehicles pulled right up at trackside here at Sebring.
And it looks to me like some other part came off before the hood actually departed the car. So I'm wondering if he didn't have some kind of contact with another car, which compromised the way the hood is fastened onto the car. Nevertheless, he will want to stop and make sure there's nothing else wrong with the car. The car will, from an aerodynamic standpoint, be very unbalanced now and not nearly as quick. Better to stop now, make sure there are no other problems, top it up with fuel. Of course, they have spare body work ready to go.
David Brabham at the controls, another of the second-generation drivers here, but his father, Sir Jack Brabham, raced here at Sebring in a Formula One car. Best Grand Prix once held here at Sebring. And he heads for the pit lane.
rally car still in the pit lane.
Engines in this car come from the shops of Robert Yates Racing, NASCAR Winston Cup fame. All the way down at the far end of the pits. Eric Bernard opens the door, wearing the colors of the French flag on his helmet. They'll lean in to help David Brabham adjust.
And the big question these guys ask themselves at this point is, why did that hood come off? There's not much point in putting another one on if it's just going to fly off again. So they're going to have a very close look at this car. They've got their refueling done. Now they can go to work.
In case you were wondering, the drivers can climb in and out of the car while it is being refueled. Let's see if we can figure out why that hood came off. Here's a closer look. There you see battle damage at the left front.
Right. Well, that makes perfect sense. So a little bit of car contact, and that impatience or that mistake will cost you dearly, and that's the proof.
Back it comes, that unique front engine car. Not the sort of thing we're used to seeing in prototype racing, but that's the way Don Panos likes it, so that's the way it is. Meanwhile, back up front, J.J. Leto, originally from Finland, now living in Monaco, back en route. Plenty of stories still to unfold here at the 12 hours of Sebring. Stand by, we'll be right back. It's covered on RPM tonight. Join John Kern to get the latest from racetracks around the country. Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on ESPN2. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of the Go Network, go.com. Go is the operative word here at Sebring. As pole sitter J.J. Leto has this brand new BMW V12 LMR out front in the 12 hours. To the pit lane, Steve Evans with Paul White from Exxon Lubricants.
Thank you, Bob. And Paul, you couldn't have picked a better race to be involved with or a better day to be here.
Well, I agree. We're really proud to be here, and it couldn't be any better, and we're hoping it stays this way for the next 12 hours.
And there's a couple of teams specifically that Exxon's involved with that maybe you root for, some of the others.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Some of the teams you root for that Exxon sponsored, the Dyson cars are looking really good.
Oh, yeah. Of course, with the BMW V12s, they've been great all week. Dyson, you can't count out the Dyson cars and the Ferraris, but the long race, who knows what'll happen, huh?
Glad to have you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Bob.
Thank you, Steve. Who knows indeed what will happen. Things are looking good right now for BMW. Leto with about an 8-second lead over the sister car, the number 43 machine. And then it's another 12 seconds back to the third place, Ford-powered Riley and Scott from the Daytona winning team of Dyson Racing. Long right-hander, turn 17. Get on the throttle as quickly as you dare and rocket down that front straightaway.
And not only are these BMWs fast, but they are reputed to get excellent fuel economy. And that is going to be a major factor in this race, as it is in every type of racing. But there's nothing worse than a car that is very quick and gets great fuel economy if you're trying to beat it.
Move a little bit further back. This is for fourth place. Car number 20, also for the Dyson stable, is in the hands of Butch Leitzinger, former driving champion of the series. And in fifth place, the number 26 machine. That's the year-old BMW V12 LM from the new Price and Bisher team. Dr. Thomas Bisher on the driving strength, along with Englishman Steve Soper, California's Bill Oberlin.
And Bill Oberlin drove for the Raffinelli team last year at Laguna Seca and gave them their first win in these open cockpit cars. There is the sister Dyson car, the 16 car in the pit lane. That is James Weaver on board. He was in third position when it pitted.
Weaver in his 13th season with Dyson Racing.
And you can see no tire change there, so they've just taken on fuel. But these cars apparently are not getting great fuel economy, and that's what's really going to hurt this Dyson team. is the fuel economy issue. Also, most of the V8 cars are 6-liter. These are 5-liter cars, and that is a distinct disadvantage. Also, the Dyson team does not have the carbon brakes.
Steve Evans in the pit lane.
Diagnostic equipment. The Zero car is back in. They have all the diagnostic equipment. They have the tail section off, still having either electronic or fuel management problems. They made a couple of changes here. They're going to send him back out, and hopefully it will come up to full song, because this is a very interesting car that qualified so well outside of the front row with the unusual Judd motor that at one time was even better. It's a Mazda that goes back to 1991. John Judd is here personally, and let's wish him luck as they go back out into Sebring.
It always comes full circle. John Judd, whose engine development's firm built that engine, was a partner with Sir Jack Brabham, talked about earlier, running a Formula One race here. Now this is the battle for the GT lead, 22 car with Randy Popst at the keyboard, and Boris Said in the BMW.
And earlier we saw Boris drop back quite a bit when the leaders came through to lap them. He's now bridged that gap up to the Porsche. But it's not going to be long before those leaders come back. Let's go down to Dave Burns.
Bob Butch Leitzinger brings the Dyson Ford number 20 in. He is also running a double stint like his partner James Weaver. Fuel only this time. They will get 90 liters in there and send him right back out.
Now this is interesting, Jeremy. You expected that everybody would be pulling tires off on that first stop to get a good look at tire wear.
Well, that's true, but I have talked to the Dyson guys. They are so, wow, that V8's loud. They are so, you know, that's pretty interesting. Butch Leitzinger is a guy that is used to leaving pit lane on cold tires, not hot tires that have a lot of grip, and that's what happened there. He expected to light those tires up, and they didn't light up because they're hot and they've got a lot of grip. But these guys are so confident with their tire wear, I pretty much knew they would not be checking their tires on the first stop. But I will be very surprised if J.J. Leto does not check his tires on the first stop.
Back to the GT battle. There is Randy Popst. We'll be checking in on this battle. These two guys have been all over each other lap after lap, and those two BMWs behind are sister cars. They are running first, the Porsche, second and third, the BMWs. And we will check on this battle as the leaders pit. Steve Evans.
Well, I sat down with Randy and his crew chief on the 22 car last night, and everybody says the weak link in any of these cars is the transmission. Well, we figured out that if you run 12 hours here at Sebring in that 5 or 6 speed car, you will shift gears, or the team of drivers will shift gears 11,210 times in one race.
And you wonder why they say this place is hard on drive lines, gearboxes, engines, suspensions, and so forth. Car number 10, followed by its sister car, number 7 from Prototype Technology Group. These guys have dominated in this class, but recently they've been on a 5-race winless streak. They had some problem with some parts up at Daytona in the 24 hours. Did not finish that race. Their success, in fact, has been a bit of a mixed blessing. They've been cut back on revs, limited to 5-speed transmissions, lost 2 inches in rear tire, and so forth, in an effort to keep a level playing field between these cars and the rest of the cars in the class, principally Porsche 911s.
And that does not take anything away. Here's the second place car now coming through to put a lap on these guys. We saw Leto come by them on the main straightaway, but that takes nothing away from Alex Job and his Porsche team, because they've done a fantastic job.
Absolutely. The battle in GT continues as it does for the rest of nearly 60 cars here at the 12 hours. More coming your way live from Sebring. Don't go away. Back to Sebring. If you're in the mood for some stock car action, it's coming up today at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, the NASCAR Busch Series, Diamond Hill Plywood 200. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of the Go Network, go.com. We are racing through the day and into the night here at Sebring. We'll be back with you early in the afternoon and then back for the final moments of this great race. Now, another of our factory teams and brand new cars has been in and out of the pits. Those are the all-new Audis, who have been struggling basically all week long in what they say is a test for their Le Mans debut. They obviously have a lot of work yet to do on those cars. Right now, BMW's running 1 and 2.
And the BMW team has been talking about this as a test. And you heard J.J. Leto in his interview with Steve Evans at the top of the show. He really referred to it as a test. Here is one of those Audis down in pit lane. You can see 77 going into the car now. And let's go down to Dave Burns. He's there.
Michele Alboreto is starting the Audi back up. They did take fuel only. They had tires standing by, but they didn't take them. Alboreto's back on the track.
He was working his fist backwards and forwards. It may be a gearbox problem on that brand new car. You see it's still in primer colors, basically. Designed by Tony Southgate, an Englishman with an incredible record designing endurance sports cars.
And this car, if you look at it very closely, especially in side profile here, it is, and here's another one of the new cars, one of the new Lolas. But what the Le Mans cars have that's very unique, look at how low that rear wing sits on that BMW. Look at how long the tail is compared to the Riley Scott cars and the Ferraris that we're so familiar with here in North America. These cars are really built for straight line speed, which is what's very, very critical at Le Mans. Not as critical here at Sebring. There are a lot more corners here. There are a lot more bumps. You need a lot more downforce. And this BMW is a great package, but look at how low, when you look at that car from the front, how low the profile of that rear wing is. The Audi is exactly the same.
In fact, the Audi being a Southgate design, one of his trademarks is that very, very low profile. Remember the old Tom Walkinshaw Jaguars, particularly the late models, the XJR12s, very low and sleek. Now, problems for the Porsche entry in the prototype category. A Porsche 911 GT Evolution, 3.2-liter twin-turbo in the hands of Terry Boutsen. And he has just dropped back out of the top 10.
It looks like this car is headed for pit lane. Yes, it is. We're going to see a lot of pit stops in around this time. Everyone wants to get a good feel for where they are in fuel economy as we go on board with Didier Taze and a good look at how bumpy it is under the bridge there at 17. Wow.
Terry Boutsen brings the car in. He's sharing with Bob Wallach, former winner of this race in 1985, sharing with A.J. Foyt, and young Dirk Mueller of Germany, second in the GT2 class of the Daytona 24 Hours, also on the driving strength for this team.
And the other unusual thing about these Le Mans rules on pit stops is that you must shut the car off. And that can be a big issue because hot race engines are not always easy to refire.
While the Porsche sits in the pits, we go back to the race leader. Distinctive engine note from this 12-cylinder BMW.
Very different from the Ferrari, and that's because the BMW is a 6-liter power plant. The Ferraris are only 4-liter, like that Judd engine, only a 4-liter power plant. So it's a big, big 6-liter V12. Now, you might wonder, how do they equalize these cars? That is done with inlet air restrictors. So they are limited on the amount of air they can pull in. So obviously, a 6-liter motor has a smaller air restrictor than a 4-liter motor. And that is how you equalize the cars.
Through the Le Mans curve. Meanwhile, back to the number 26 car, who started 6th in the field. This is the year-old BMW V12. You see its progress through the field. It's a wonder that these cars, with the bigger displacement and the high revs, are getting such great mileage.
But that's the key, Bob. They don't actually rev them that high, and that's where the big bore displacement power plants have the advantage, and that's where the Ferraris and the Judds, the smaller displacement, higher revving motors, really have a hard time.
Bill Oberlin from Redondo Beach, California, hustling the car around, now a factory driver for BMW. He'll be on the driver's strength when they go to Le Mans, and he heads for the pit lane. So running from third place, pitting from third, that is, on lap number 27, Bill Oberlin brings in the year-old BMW.
And these cars had a very tough time at Le Mans last year. They had wheel bearing failures. They took both cars out. They've obviously sorted those problems out. There go the fuelers. No one else allowed to work on the car. They can visually inspect it, but if they touch it, that is a penalty.
This must be agonizing time for the crew, especially if something is wrong with the car. stop for Bill Auberlen as he comes back on the racetrack. The clock continues to tick away the early seconds of this race that will go on for 12 hours. On board one of the Ferraris in the field. We'll take a break and be back to Sebring. The number 42 BMW off the race lead in the pits. Once again, all hands off while the fuel goes in. Here's a good look at that controversial roll bar we spoke about earlier. And so now the number 43 car, the sister car, moves into the race lead here in the 12 hours of Sebring. Joachim Winkelhock, Pierluigi Martini, and the driver, Yannick Dalmas.
And the 43 car stretching the fuel not 1 lap further, but 2 laps further. And of course, they get excellent fuel information from these cars because all the cars have fuel meters, very accurate fuel meters on board. So the drivers know exactly how much fuel they've consumed. And they will relay that information back to the pit lane. And that is how they will decide when to stop.
Lap number 29 of this 3.7-mile circuit. So the car's gone about 100 miles or so on the first load of fuel. You see the running order upper left as the clock ticks down towards the end of the 12 hours. A long way from now. Amazing how the aerodynamic theory in sports car racing has changed over the years.
Well, what's amazing is if you go and stand beside this car, it pretty much comes up to your knees. Sometimes it's difficult to get the scale when the car is out on the racetrack, but it is a phenomenally low-profile car.
Now car number 48 right there, that's the number 46. Machine being shared by 3 Texans and a Florida driver. We're looking for the race leader in the GTS category. More powerful production-based cars.
And that is one of the car that sweeps by this Porsche. That is one of Jim Downing's cars, a kudzu with a Mazda power plant, and one of the Audis, of course. So the quicker cars, the quicker GTP cars, working their way through the traffic. And now our leader is in the pit lane.
Yannick Dalmas. Tires ready when the fueling is done. 56 minutes on that first 90 liters of fuel. Down to Steve Evans.
And per the plan, Yannick Dalmas is staying in the car as J.J. Leto did. They don't want to change tires until after 2 stints. They've got fresh tires out, inspecting the ones that are on there. The crew are like pit bulls that can't get out of the yard after a cat. They can't do a thing on this car, as you've explained, until the fueling is done. They stand there, they just stare at it. Please, look at this car. But apparently it doesn't need much but fuel.
Interesting.
See, as you said, the car a little bump in the start button. Lights are on. Here it goes. Back in the frame, the 43 car.
Now the GTS leader. There's the 48 car in the pits. European-based Porsche 911 Turbo for Wolfgang Kaufmann, Michel Ligonnet, and Lance Stewart. My guess is that is Ligonnet. A Le Mans veteran climbing in because of the colors of the helmet. Freisinger Motorsports.
And this is the team that won the Petit Le Mans last October, which was really the precursor to the American Le Mans series.
As you go when the BMW left, you saw a strange green glow to the headlights. You'll see that a lot when we get to the hours of darkness in this race. Many of the cars using new xenon gas headlights that throw a tremendous amount of light, and in the sunlight of the day, they have a very funny green tinge to them. This is the kind of pit stop you get under Le Mans rules.
This is
very
a bit
relaxed.
Yeah, that's a bit of confusion is what that is, I'm afraid.
Well, that's also a part of Le Mans pit stops. As I recall from years at the circuit known as La Sarthe. Talk about low profile.
Well, when you look at it from the front, it's just phenomenal how low that wing sits. It sits just barely above rear wheel well. Just incredible. Let's go down to Dave in the pit lane.
The 99 car is in, and car owner Larry Schumacher gets in the car. Robert Nern just topped out of the 99. Robert, how is the car working today?
So I missed that. Say again.
How is the car working out there, the 99?
It's fine. The first half an hour was great. The track's very clean. It's really started to muck up there in the last half an hour, so conditions are getting pretty slippery.
You said this was a tire check, and the tire's very greasy?
Yeah, we've no idea how long these tires will last in these conditions, so we go out there for the minimum amount of time, come in, check the tire, then that gives us the information for the next stint.
Hey, Bob, they came in a little bit early. Larry Schumacher takes over for Robert Nern.
Shown second in the GTS class and 22nd, now back to 25th in the overall.
And the 3 car, the Corvette, stopped while we were at break. It had fallen down to third, back up into the lead now as the pit stop shuffling, the first round of pit stop kind of shuffles through. The Corvette, the number 3 car, back up into the lead.
And back into the overall race lead is the number 42 pole-sitting BMW LMR. JJ Leto still at the controls. There's our GTS class leader, the number 3 Chevy Corvette. Beautiful race cars to look at, especially up close. The first factory Corvette effort for Chevrolet since the old Corvette Super Sports back in the mid-1950s. Those cars, of course, a big part of Sebring history.
And General Motors really did their homework on this car. They built it. They built it to the edge of the rules. It is a great. There's the 4 car, the sister car. Let's go down to Dave. Let's go down to Dave.
They are going after the fuel right now, as you mentioned before. They're waiting for the fuel man to pop back off. When he does, they came out with more than air guns. They came out with toolboxes. They may have a brake problem on the Corvette number 4, and they're possibly going to change the master cylinder on the braking system. So stand by. It might be longer than expected for the 4.
Car being shared by Scott Sharp, Andy Pilgrim, and John Heinrichs, a former assistant chief engineer on the Corvette program. Car number 11, the Ferrari, being shared by Max Angelelli, Didier de Rodriguez, and Anthony Lazzaro from Atlanta, Georgia, is being pushed back. See, the engine cover is off over the V12 Ferrari engine.
Well, apparently they were black flagged because the car was smoking. You can see the drivers out of the car. They've got the bodywork off. They're looking. You can clearly see the fuel injectors there on the right at the top of the motor. Those are the fuel injectors. And they're having a close look at it.
Earlier
losing valuable time.
Saw the Audis designed by Tony Southgate, the original Ferrari 333 SP, also the product of the Englishman's pen. Now the work begins seriously on the Corvette. To Dave.
They continue to work on the Corvette now. They've gone to the left front. They've gone to the left rear. It appears that the right front may be the problem. That's where the most smoke is emanating from right now. Obviously, that's normal with the hard braking, but they're still a bit shaking their heads, but they do know it was a braking problem.
So the crew goes to work. We'll take a break. Off comes the windshield. That means they're going for the master cylinder, which is in the cockpit. We'll be back with more from Sebring. Stay with us. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring is being brought to you by Exxon Superflow Motor Oil. Provides protection that's fast, protection that lasts. And by the Olive Garden. When you're here, your family. Welcome back to Sebring. There's your race leader. Brand new BMW V12 LMR in the hands of JJ Leto, former Formula One pilot, veteran of the Kart FedEx Championship Series and Le Mans 24-hour sports car winner. As far as things going very well for BMW in the debut of this all-new car. Barely 2 months after it first turned a wheel, it was put on pole for this race by Leto, and now it leads. Meanwhile, the number 4 Chevy C5R Corvette remains in the pits. With an update on that, here's Dave Burns.
Bob, Bill Riley and the crew of the number 4 think that they have pinpointed the problem now. And Jeremy, as you know, in braking, all you get is a mushy pedal. It could be fluids, it could be lines, it could be master cylinders. It's the brake pedal itself. They had to take off the windshield to reach down and replace it. Once they do that, they think they've solved the problem for the 4 car.
Well, it's a good news, bad news situation for the new Corvette. While that car sits in the pits, its sister car is the class leader, shown 20th overall. In the GT category, car number 22, the Alex Job Racing Porsche, in the hands of Randy Popes, with a bunch of racing championships to his name, including the 96 North American Touring Car Championship, remains on the race lead, but being pursued by the BMWs. We go on board with Boris Said in the 10 car, running second in class.
And the top 4 in the GT class within 18 seconds of each other, so a very close battle up front in the GT class.
Steve Evans has more on the BMWs.
You know, in their pit just before they came in, Charlie Lamb, the team manager, had a little grin, and it was a great big smile. And he looked over and said, quote, "We're going to kill them with fuel economy." And darned if they're not, at least in this first stint. Magnify that by stint after stint, the BMWs can get a pretty good lead. Now understand that since 1990, no car driver has won this from past the 4th position on the grid.
Up. Plus, to bring a brand new machine to victory lane at Sebring would be an incredible accomplishment. Lots of cars have won in their debuts, but it's very tough to do so at a place like Sebring. As we look at one of the PTG BMW M3s, that's the second place car for Boris Said.
This is the last corner. You can see they've come off what is new pavement, new asphalt, onto what these are the old runways and taxiways. This is a taxiway we're on now here down the main straightaway here at Sebring, and this is very, very rough. These are old concrete pads that butt up against each other all the way through turn 1 until the exit of turn 1 right there, where you get onto some smoother pavement. That transition can be a bit dodgy at times because it goes a little bit off camera in the exit there. Is the BMW, the leading V12 car, just rocketed by this GT car and will disappear as he heads down to the hairpin.
There's the race leader, Leto. This airfield was once known as Hendricks Field, which used to train B-17 bomber crews during World War II. In 1950, Alec Ullman came here and decided it would be a great place to hold a particular race that he wanted. Having just come back from working as a PR representative for the great Briggs Cunningham and his cars at Le Mans, Ullman decided he wanted a Le Mans here in America. He founded what has become the Superflow 12 Hours of Sebring, officially a sister race to the French Classic.
And the great thing about this American Le Mans Series Championship is that it allows car companies like BMW and like Audi to build race cars and to run them in different places. In the past, Le Mans was really just a one-race standalone event, and it was very, very expensive for a manufacturer to amortize their marketing costs to build a race car for just one race. And now they can run it at Sebring, they can run it throughout North America, the American Le Mans Series, and they can do the great French Classic, the Le Mans 24-hour.
The American market being so important to so many major manufacturers. We should point out recent years have not been good to worldwide sports car racing and had fallen into decline. But now with the arrival of the American Le Mans Series, as Jeremy mentioned, people have places to go race these wonderful cars. Right now, balked just a little bit behind the Riley and Scott Ford from Genesis Racing for Rick Fairbanks, Dave Dullum, and Kurt Baumann.
And this, of course, is Didier Taze. This is the 27 car. And this car right now sits in 7th overall. And this is the team and part of the driver lineup that won this race last year. And right now they sit in 7th overall. And that tells you how far these cars have come in just 1 year.
Didier Taze and Mauro Baldi shared with Giampiero Moretti, who had a dream season winning the 24 Hours Daytona and here at Sebring. Number 10, that was the 3rd place car in the GT category. Driver change and service going on among the PTG team. The car will come back out with a new driver. Temperature continues to climb here. I would guess up in the low 80s now here at Sebring. As the pit stop continues for the BMW team. Meanwhile, on the backstretch through the shimmering heat, race leader J.J. Leto continues on his way, now 17 seconds ahead of the sister BMW running second, and 45 seconds ahead of the third place Riley and Scott Ford. We'll be back to Sebring in a moment. At Sebring, and the Superflow 12 hours of Sebring coming to the end of our opening program, but we'll be back at 1:30 Eastern Time, 10:30 a.m. Pacific with more coverage, and then we'll be back with you tonight, also on ESPN2 at 10 p.m. Eastern for the conclusion of the 47th running of this great race. You can also check in on the action throughout the day at AmericanLaMasSeries.com. For more on our programming, check out ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com. Here's a look at our GTP leaderboard as we work lap number 37 in this race. The pole-sitting car put there by J.J. Leto, sharing with Tom Christensen and Jörg Mueller, running ahead of the sister car for Winkelhock, Martini, and Dalmas. And then the Ford-powered machine of James Weaver, Andy Wallace, a two-time winner of this race, and Dorsey Schrader. Looking at the GTS leaderboard, leading is the Chevy Corvette C5R. For Ron Fellows, Chris Neifeld, and John Paul Jr. running 20th in the overall. All the cars ahead of them are GTP machines. Running in second place, the Snow and Heusman Porsche 911. And in the third and final category, the GT cars. The leader, the number 22 Porsche. The Fitzgerald, Popes, and McNeil is currently 25th overall, and beating all but the two leading cars in the GTS class. So a bit of an upset in the making in the very early hours of this race among the two GT classes. We'll take a break and be back later this afternoon with more as the racing continues. Coming up next is Sports Center with Chris McKendry and Jack Edwards. So stand by for that. Until we see you later from Sebring, I'm Bob Varsha for Jeremy Dale, Dave Burns, and Steve Evans. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com. So long, everyone. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is the crucible of endurance sports car racing. Since 1923, the world's best have fought for Le Mans glory and the racing immortality that comes to any who can meet its challenge. Now, Le Mans comes to America. You are looking live at Sebring International Raceway as we work our way into the fourth hour of 12 in the Sports Car Classic that bestows one of the greatest honors in all of motorsports. The action has been spectacular.
I think Bob is using the booth as his Bible.
We began shortly after 10 a.m. Eastern Time with a superb field of cars and drivers. The BMW race leader collided with the GTS race-leading Corvette and then spent a long time in the pits. The Vette came together with the BMW sister car on the high-speed backstretch. That's the kind of action we've seen all day long. In the GT class, once the class leader, Larry Schumacher, in his Porsche 911, suffered a fiery demise. Welcome back as once again the world's finest sports cars and drivers have gathered for the 47th running of the Superflow 12 hours at Sebring. In the fourth hour, we have seen spectacular action, no injuries, thank goodness, but all sorts of fire and bent sheet metal, and why not? This is the one race every sports car driver wants to win on the road to the 24 hours of Le Mans. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with ESPN's Jeremy Dale. Down in the pit lane are Steve Evans and Dave Burns. The action has been great. We'll give you a look at the overall standings. The 42 BMW, a brand new car, just 2 months out of the shops of Williams Grand Prix Engineering in England, sat on pole for this race, dropped back after a long pit stop for an electrical problem that has come right back to the race lead in the hands of Tom Christensen of Denmark. At the moment, Joe Winkelhock is in the sister car, number 43, that led much of the race when the 42 car was not out front. And the number 1 full coupe Panos in the hands of Eric Bernard runs in third spot. Lurking in fourth is the number 20 Riley and Scott chassis from Dyson Racing. And Steve Evans has more on that car saga.
Well,
Rob Dyson owns 2 GTP cars, and that's a very good thing because one of them is out in the Toolies, the number 16 car. We're not sure what's wrong with it. And the number 20 car is currently running fourth. It was second until they just pitted for fuel and the driver changed. And Rob, everybody is marveling at the BMW's fuel economy and tire economy.
You're going to have to repeat it again.
Everybody marveling about the BMW's fuel economy and tire economy.
Well, you know, they're racing under, you know, this is kind of the confluence of two rule books. Don't ask me which ones. And they read theirs and we read ours, and that's what we've got here. I think we're first in class. We got a long way to go, so with any luck, we'll be there.
Good luck, Rob.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back to Bob Barsha.
All right, thanks very much. The number 16 car sits forlornly out there. Rob Dyson and his crew won the 24 Hours of Daytona earlier this year under that other rule book that he mentioned. Right now, they find themselves looking up at cars from the Pro Sports Car Series. Jeremy Dale, your thoughts on what we've witnessed in these first 4 hours?
Well, it's quite evident that the BMW team, though they are very fast, they are driving very, very hard. And those two coming together with that Corvette, which really was just a coincidence, but both of those leading BMWs came together with that number 3 Corvette. That just shows you how hard they are driving. The GTS Corvette is leading the class, although it has had contact with those 2 cars. So a great battle in GTS with the Corvette because the Porsches are not far behind the Corvette, and the GT class with the BMWs and the Porsches still going head-to-head. We had 4 cars on the lead lap not that long ago.
Let's take a look at the top 10 of the GTS class. Number 3, Chevy Corvette C5R out front in the hands of Chris Neifel, Ron Fellows, and John Paul Jr. Its sister car, much like the Dyson situation in GTP, has had nothing but problems all day long. Let's get down to the pit lane now, and Dave Burns.
Bob Neifel is still in the car right now. Fellows is about to get in the car, and they've all been putting in consistent laps for the Chevy Corvette team. Gary Pratt, the crew chief, is very happy with that. But, Gary, we understand you're chasing a bit of a brake problem. What's going on there?
Well, we got a little bit of a long pedal, and that just means it gives them a little bit longer stroke, and they got to pump it a couple times before each corner. Other than that, things are going smooth.
That's something you're just going to live with? Are you just going to live with that problem?
Yeah, we're going to live with that. It's they're able to still run good times, so we're going to let them do it.
All right, they're going to have to pump the brakes going into almost every corner, guys, so they can set the tolerance of the pads a little closer to the rotor before they have to apply real pressure to get into the corner.
Just adding to the challenge to these drivers, keep in mind there are 17 very different corners around this 3.7-mile racetrack. Fast ones, slow ones. These guys really have their work cut out for them. And keep in mind, this is a first-year full factory effort for the Chevy Corvette team. We'll take a break and return with more live from Sebring. Stay right there. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring is being brought to you by Exxon Superflow Motor Oil. Provides protection that's fast, protection that lasts. By the Olive Garden. When you're here, your family. And by Wolverine, boots and shoes since 1883. Wolverine works anywhere. Back live in front of a record attendance here at Sebring International Raceway. Some 100,000 or so fans on hand for the party as well as the race as we continue with the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring. There's the leader in the GT category for the lighter, less powerful production-based cars. The all-conquering BMW from Tom Milner's Prototype Technology Group. Number 10 is on the lead lap with its sister car, the number 7, and the third-place car in class, the number 23 Alex Joe Porsche. Right now, Peter Cunningham, a recent recruit to the PTG BMW team behind the wheel of the number 10 BMW M3. Here's a look at our top 10. Sister car in second place. And behind them, mostly Porsches further back. Porsche, the car to have in this class over the years until the development of these phenomenal BMWs. Now let's get more on the PTG car situation with Steve Evans in the pits.
Well, Boris said is one of the co-drivers of that car. And let's remember the Tom Milner team has won here at Sebring the last 2 years in a row. And they put a lot of restrictions on you, Boris, a rev limiter, narrower tires, all kinds of things, and you're still beating them.
Yeah, I mean, right now, both BMW M3s are running great. Yokohama tires are working great. And we have a game plan, and hopefully it'll get us to the end and we'll win.
You've driven cars with a lot more power than this here. Is this fun, though?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. I mean, driving anything's fun. And, the BMW is the ultimate driving machine. So around here, it's really fun. And if everything works out, I'll do my next stint in about a half hour, and I'll get to watch the end of the truck race with my friends down Homestead. So,
how did the right front get damaged?
I don't know. It happened when Hans was out in the car. I think he just ran over a piece of rubber and it went up through the top of the fender. So we haven't started pushing anybody around yet, but if we need to, we'll push people around later.
He's been known to do that. Bit of a wild man, Bob.
Spoken like a true member of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Fraternity. That's right, Hans Stuck, former winner of the overall here at Sebring, also on the driver team there. Here's your race leader in GTS, the number 3 Corvette, making a very slow pit entrance. You see its sister car, number 4, unfortunately has been sitting in the pit lane for much of the day.
Well, that number 4 car was actually sitting out on the racetrack for quite a bit of time with some electronic problems. You can see Chris Neifel getting out, Ron Fellows getting into the car. And they're allowed to change drivers while they fuel, but that's all they can do. They cannot change tires. They cannot work on the car while they're fueling. Ron started the race with an open face helmet, has switched over to the full face helmet. Ron, of course, did most or all of the development driving on this car. And look at that. They've not got their driver change done yet. Looks like they are going to change tires, though, so hopefully the driver change will not hold them up. As a driver, it's always your goal to not have the driver change hold up the pit stop. You want to have that done.
If you weren't with us this morning for the beginning of this race, we are operating under the American Le Mans Series rules, which mirror those of the 24 hours of Le Mans in France. And that means when the car is refueled, as Jeremy mentioned, the drivers can switch positions, but you cannot work on the car. That makes for some long pit stops and some real tension among the crews. There is the race leader in the number 42 BMW LMR. We'll take a look back at some Sebring history and be back to current days in a moment. Sebring figures prominently in the career of one of America's greatest racing drivers, Mario Andretti. His 3 Sebring overall wins in 1967, 70, and 72 came in 3 different cars with different co-drivers. Andretti's wins make him the leader in a small fraternity of men who have won both the Indianapolis 500 and the 12 Hours, including A.J. Foyt, Bobby Rahal, and Arie Luyendyk. Back live at Sebring International Raceway in the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring. Race-leading BMW 12-cylinder LMR is in the hands of Tom Christensen, one of 2 former winners of the 24 Hours of Le Mans on this team. He's partnered with Jörg Mueller and former Formula One and Kart FedEx Championship Series driver J.J. Leto put the car on a record pole. Now, earlier, they had an electrical problem, dropped back, and have been working their way forward, Jeremy.
Well, they had a very minor problem, which was they had broken brake lights, believe it or not. And, of course, that may not seem critical, but it's very important under the rules that they have operating brake lights, so they had to fix those. It was not a big deal, but they did lose a couple of laps. At the time, they had a 1-lap lead. You see a car there dropping wheels coming onto the back straightaway, kicking up a bit of dust. They had a 1-lap lead. They've managed to claw their way back to the lead. It's been a phenomenal driving performance by all of these drivers.
Took the race lead back when their sister car 43 made a pit stop. Now just ahead is the number 20 machine from Dyson Racing. It's Butch Leitzinger, former champion in this series, behind the wheel and about to go a lap down. The speed of these BMWs with all their Formula One technology is simply astonishing.
Well, and I think what you can say very clearly is that the Riley and Scott cars that Dyson is running are not really stretching themselves out to the rules the way the BMWs are. They could run 18-inch wheels. They're running 17s. They could run a 6-liter motor. They're running a 5-liter motor. They could run carbon brakes. They're running iron brakes. So they're not really completely, totally prepared for this event.
Perhaps hoping that the tortoise will beat the hare. The BMW in the hands of J.J. Leto qualified a record pole speed of over 121 miles per hour. And perhaps as astonishing as their speed has been their durability. They've been hitting other cars or being hit, and yet they continue at this tremendous pace.
And I don't think anyone anticipated that this BMW would be as fast as it is, because it is a brand new race car. This is the debut event for this race car. It has been tested, but I don't think anyone anticipated the outright speed from this BMW.
In fact, these cars only turned a wheel for the first time some 2 months ago. On board now with Christensen. And a look out the back at Butch Leitzinger. Fading a car length or so with every tick of the clock. Closing up a little bit in that slow corner. This is down through Bishop Bend, named for John Bishop, who started what was then known as the International Motor Sports Association, which evolved into professional sports car racing, the sanctioning body for today's event and the entire American Le Mans Series. See all of that rubber spooge, or marbles as the drivers call it, gathering on the lens cover.
Yeah, those would primarily be little bits of rubber that have been kicked up. I'm amazed they can make their way back in towards where the camera is at the rate that that car is moving forward. But you're going to see, by the end of this race tonight, you're going to see that these cars are very, very dirty. You can already see a lot of dirt on the front of the car, and that is rubber and debris and oil. Oh, my God, one of the Panos cars on fire.
And heavily so.
And this is a bad place for that car to be, because there's no one there. There's no one anywhere close to where that car is. And that car is going to burn.
One of two Panos cars in the field. These are the house cars owned by Don Panos, who also owns the lease on this racetrack and the sanctioning body, Pro Sports Car.
Now, that is a very small extinguisher, and that is a very big fire. And unless we get a lot of those small extinguishers very quickly, this fire is going to get a hold of this car.
Early in the race, there was contact between one of the Panoses and another car, and the whole engine hood came flying off on the pit straightaway. And now this. This is the #1 car, David Brabham, son of Sir Jack Brabham, and brother of Jeff Brabham, a former winner of these 12 hours. Now there's the sister car, the #2, in the hands of Jan Magnussen from Denmark, Johnny O'Connell from Phoenix, Arizona, and John Nielsen.
And we are full course yellow. We have gone to a full course yellow here because this car is not in a particularly safe spot. And you can see he wants to get that bodywork off just to make sure there's nothing smoldering under the back there that might catch that car on fire again. And look at it, is on fire.
Yeah.
It is on fire. None of these guys can see it.
There's fire coming out the back now. Now, yesterday, in one of the support races for this 12-hour event, a Motorola Cup race, one of the showroom stock cars caught fire, and pressure had built up in the gas tank, and when the gas cap blew off, flame just spewed out of the vent some 20 feet in the air. A spectacular incident.
Now, boy, this fire sure got going quickly, because that started very small and got going very quickly and got very big. Must have been some kind of oil or fuel leak to get that going like that. You can see it started around where the exhaust pipe is. You can see a trail of it there on the ground.
So there's
following
fluid
the car.
on the ground. Yep.
There is fluid on the ground. So there was some fluid leaking there. The exhaust system is what started that fire.
The engine at the front, the fuel tank at the rear. So a dangerous place for a fire. As you see, David Brabham continuing to direct rescue operations. We'll take a break and return with more live from the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring. Welcome back live to Sebring, and we will be back live later this evening at 10 Eastern Time to wrap up our coverage of the 47th Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring on ESPN2. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of the Go Network, go.com. We are under a full course caution here at Sebring for only the second time in the 4 to 5 hours of the race elapsed thus far. There you see the BMW 12-cylinder race leader behind the Dodge Viper safety cars. The field slows down. We're under caution due to a sudden fire in the #1 Panos GTR1 Ford. There is the scene of the incident where David Brabham pulled the car off. The rear end enveloped in fire. It appears the fire is now out. It'll take a while to get that removed. Here's another look.
And you can clearly see that there must have been some fluid in around that. There's the exhaust pipe right in front of the right rear wheel. And whatever fluid, either oil or fuel, probably oil, got that thing started. The problem is, once it gets going, that carbon fiber bodywork will burn, and it'll burn very nicely if you let it. So the oil may not be pumping anymore, but that carbon fiber bodywork will really burn.
Well, as we mentioned, the new American Le Mans series operates under the rules of the 24 Hours of Le Mans in France. And those new rules have led to a variety of new cars here at Sebring. Earlier in the week, Dave Burns took a look at 4 of those new machines.
Sebring is buzzing this weekend with one of the most impressive prototype fields ever assembled. In addition to the tried and true like this Doyle Risi Ferrari, several cars are making their world debut, including the BMW V12. Start drooling sports car fans, and let's take a look at some of the new cars here at Sebring. A closer look at the BMW V12 LMR reveals an engineering masterpiece that any driver would love to get his hands on.
Very excited because the BMW is still a new car. I mean, it's basically built for Le Mans, and I mean, it's still the good old V12 BMW engine, which is very torquey and very easy to drive. You know, it's very, very easy for the long distance races, and you know, it's just the car. It felt good, you know, because the weight is much lower than on McLaren's, and it's just easy to drive. You know, it has a little bit more downforce, and it's just more like a race car, you know.
Audi joins the Works lineup, bringing 2 of its gorgeous R8Rs to the States for their first look at head-to-head competition.
I think winning would be lovely, wouldn't it? It'd be absolutely fantastic. But we have other things that we're trying to do. Obviously, you know, we would love to win, but I think that it's just important that we get a lot of information about the car at the moment.
Almost new to the world and still searching for the perfect setup are 3 private Lola entries powered by Ford, BMW, and Lotus.
At the moment, we just have a lot of work to do. We had some trouble with the engine in the Daytona time. We've got that all pretty much figured out. So that's like the reliability stuff of the engine is starting to come along. If I had to pick one thing, I think the braking and turning in of the car is exceptionally good. And from there on, we just have to develop the rest too.
And how about the highly modified Riley and Scott of Team Raffinelli with Judd power?
I think it's a little bit surprising for everybody because we set up all these things in 27 days. End of January, we decide to go for the program. I'm sure the fans will be happy to see that the Riley and Scott can compete about very big factory.
Speaking of factories, okay, we know you saw it at Daytona, but hey, it's still the new Corvette.
This is history. First time in a full factory Corvette effort. And I tell you, for a production-based car, it's a really fun car to drive. Not everybody gets to drive it, which is too bad.
Yeah, it is too bad, but we can still dream, can't we?
All right, thanks, Dave. Now there is the number 42 car who has just emerged from the pits. And as a result, has given up the overall race lead to its team car. Jörg Müller, former winner of the Daytona 24 Hours, behind the wheel of the number 42. We'll be back to action shortly here at Sebring. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sebring. Don't forget the NASCAR Winston Cup Trans-South Financial 400 is coming your way tomorrow from Darlington at 12:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of the Go Network, go.com. Here at Sebring, you ride with the GTS class leading Chevy Corvette as we continue under caution for a fire in the GTP Panos. However, David Brabham was able to get out. The car is being returned to the paddock. We are getting set to go racing once again. Here's the progress of the GTS leading Corvette C5R through the field. And as you see, they didn't have far to go.
I was gonna say.
And they've been there just about the whole time. Currently being shown in 17th overall. Let's get down to Dave Burns.
Well, Bob, they're just very disappointed in the Panos pit. David Brabham is okay, but the car is a crispy critter, and it's done for the day. They've already towed it. They're going to tow it to the back and just park it.
All right, thank you, Dave. It was a fierce conflagration on that Panos. We started the day with 58 cars, all shiny and new, each one a potential winner. That's not the way it works in endurance racing. The stories unfold by the hour. We'll be back with this one in a moment. Over the years, Sebring has played host to famous racing drivers and famous people who love to drive racing cars. In 1970, actor Steve McQueen and co-driver Peter Revson finished a close second in the 12 Hours to the Ferrari factory team led by Mario Andretti. Among stars from other walks of life to race here are broadcasting legend Walter Cronkite, astronaut Pete Conrad, and Oscar-winning actor Paul Newman. Back at Sebring, and of course the roster of winners here in the 12 hours is a who's who of the racing fraternity, but perhaps as impressive are the drivers who had tried and failed to win this race. How about a list that includes people like Bobby Allison, Chris Amon, Alberto Ascari, Jim Clark, Richie Ginther, Sam Hanks, David Hobbs, Alan Jones, Terry Labonte, Roger Penske, Jim Rathman, Pedro Rodriguez, Jackie Stewart, and virtually the entire Unser family. Al Sr., Al Jr., Bobby, they all raced here, but never came away with a win. It's all a part of the lore of the 12 hours here at Sebring as we remain under a full chorus caution. A tremendous international field. And sometimes having an international lineup of drivers and mechanics can lead to some communication problems. More on that story. Here's Steve Evans.
It sure can, Bob, especially when Michelin flew over a bunch of French engineers to 10 these North American teams, and also French engineers on the BMW team trying to win the first race ever for Michelin. So PSI, that's what a crew chief relates to in his tires. Bar is what the French relate to. They couldn't communicate. So finally, they made up this chart on the computer in the trailer. If it's 19 PSI, it's 1.3 bar. Ooh, mais oui. If it's 44, it's 305. Mais oui, we got this handled. They've got another chart, same thing, for Celsius to Fahrenheit. So all in all, it's not sign language. It's even maybe a little cruder than that. Bob?
And let's not even get into reading off the menu at the local restaurants. The field continues, single file behind the safety car. We hope to go racing again shortly once the scene of the fire in that Panos is cleaned up. One of the most amazing things about endurance racing here and elsewhere is the mechanical diversity. On board, the Porsche entry from Champion Motorsports, big Porsche dealership down in Pompano Beach, Florida. That's the latest and greatest evolution of the Porsche 911, the GT Evo 2, it's being called. 3.2-liter twin-turbo, water-cooled. Now on board with the Chevy Corvette. Yes, windshield wipers inside the windscreen and out. No defrosters on these cars. And if you've been to Sebring in the 90s, you know that when it rains a bunch. But there is no rain in the forecast this year. In fact, it's been a beautiful day. Blue skies, fluffy clouds, temperatures in the 80s. We go into the number 10. BMW M3. Boris said now back behind the wheel. They run third in the GT category on the same lap with the race leading number 23 Alex Joe Porsche and the number 7 BMW M3. And just one lap back are two more cars, another pair of Porsches. So the GT battle should continue to be a potboiler all the way to the finish of this race. On board the number 42 BMW. This is the car that sat on pole at over 121 miles an hour in average speed. Notice that steering wheel. Drag racing, a Formula One style yoke rather than a full wheel. Full of buttons to operate so many different functions. A lot of Formula One technology in these cars, designed and built, as I mentioned, by Williams Grand Prix Engineering. Well, now here's one of our onboard cameras giving you a good look inside the paddock as the number 27 car gets worked on. This is one of the Ferrari 333 SPs. Freddie Leinhardt, the leader of the team, owner of the car. Driving with him, Didier Taze and Mauro Baldi, who were on the winning team here at the 12 hours with Giampiero Moretti last year. Now a late pit stop under yellow for number 43, the race leader. And we'll have a driver change. Good chance to watch one of these Le Mans-style pit stops unfold.
And this really helps you put in perspective the size of this car as it sits on the ground. Look at the guys standing beside it, and it'll barely come up to their knees. That's how low this car sits to the ground. That's how low the body sits and the profile of the car is, and that is one reason why, in terms of straightaway speed, it is so impressive.
Joe Winkelhock of Germany getting out, famed for his BMW service in German touring cars. Yannick Dalmas of France will get in. Another former Formula One driver. We have a slew of them here at Sebring this year. Dalmas, of course, also a former winner of 24 Hours of Le Mans. Still looking for his first win here at Sebring, however.
And don't forget the power plant in this car, the V12, very similar to the motor that won at Le Mans in 1995 in the McLaren F1 car. That was a BMW power plant.
The F1 supercar, that is, not a Formula One car.
Road-going McLaren F1, the three-seater that had the central driving cockpit. Actually, the last time J.J. Leto was here was driving one of those cars, and it caught on fire and burned to the ground. And I remember that. I was here for that race. So J.J. has mixed memories of Sebring, I'm sure.
So much Formula One technology. Notice that antenna on the right front. Make that the right side view mirror. Very much in the style of Formula One.
Very well thought out, these cars. I mean, it's almost like a single-seater set off to the side. If you look at it in that profile there, looking at it straight on, it almost looks like a single-seater set off to the side, and that's why aerodynamically it is so good.
Well, that's a good comparison. If anything, I guess it harks back to the latter days of Can-Am when they were essentially Indy cars with fenders.
Brilliant job they've done with that car.
Looking down the Ullman Straight, named for Alec Ullman, the founder of the 12 Hours of Sebring. They are waving the field by now to set the start order for the green flag, so we expect one shortly. We'll be back to the runways of Sebring Regional Airport, Sebring International Raceway, and the Superflow 12 Hours of Sebring, now in its 47th year. Stand by for more live from Florida. Back live at Sebring, Florida, as we continue with the 47th Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring. We remain under caution as the field forms up again for a restart that we hope will be coming along shortly. Current leaders, in fact, running first and second are the BMW prototypes. And running second and third in the GT category, the BMW M3 Coupes. Joining us now at our booth position, a man who has won here at Sebring before in the overall classifications and now runs in the BMW M3s, Hans Stuck. Hans, thanks for joining us.
Hi, how are you doing? Thank you.
How is it to be back at Sebring?
Very good, because Sebring is one of my favorite tracks. You know, it's a very demanding track, and it's always good to be out here at Sebring.
Now, you guys have had some minor mechanical problems with your car.
Yes, we experienced in the warm-up a little bit of a brake problem in the rear. It was pretty rough when you put the pedal on. And now during the race we only have like 70% brake force in the rear, which makes it pretty difficult to enter a turn on these brakes, and we had to change brake pads already after 4 hours. And we hope now we could cure a little bit of this problem, but we're giving out about 2 seconds per lap with this problem.
And the Porsche guys are pushing you very hard.
You better believe it.
Hans, you have raced and won here and at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Your thoughts on the new American Le Mans series and a racing series that leads to the 24 Hours in France?
I think it's a great idea. It gives those guys from overseas a good chance to be here, and it shows it proved for the fans. We have a great race out there today. We have a field of 60 cars. Everybody is happy more or less.
Are you going to drive the V12 car at Le Mans?
No, I'm only on reserve because I'm set out for the championship here with PTG cars. I'm happy to be here because now with this I have a full season of driving.
How has this racetrack changed over the years that you've been here? Is it getting, in fact, better and better?
Yeah, better is one side, safer is the other side. I mean, nowadays they kind of destroy those good old-fashioned tracks with sort of silly chicanes, what has happened here, unfortunately. So it was kind of more interesting, demanding the way it was before. But I think safety first is our first goal. We have to follow up here. So it's getting safer and safer all the time.
And that's exactly what's happened down to the hairpin.
Yeah.
I mean, they moved that up, but that little chicane that follows the hairpin creates some bottlenecks.
Yeah, it is totally unnecessary, especially with the speed differential with these cars here. You don't know, with a slower car, what I'm driving, you don't know where to go. I mean, you cannot disappear, and it's kind of hard to let faster cars by. It would be nicer to have a straight line from this corner, but it'd be nice to ask some professional drivers about building chicanes. I mean, the best example is Atlanta. They have done such a beautiful job over there to put a chicane in. That's a real driving chicane.
Right.
Another of the tracks owned by Don Panos, who also runs the American Le Mans Series. Now we're going down to the pit lane to check in with the team leading the GTS category right now, the Chevy Corvettes. Here's Steve Evans.
Well, actually, I'm over in the BMW pits with the leader of this brigade, team manager Charlie Lamb. And Charlie, if I could just bother you for a second, you picked a tough racetrack to debut a brand new car. Are you a little surprised at the success so far, anyway, of the 42 car?
Well, I mean, both our cars, 42 and 43, are running well so far. And yes, I'm a little bit surprised, but then again, it's a 12-hour race, and well, 4 hours are just passed, so there's still a long way to go.
You're killing them right now in fuel economy. Unbelievable fuel economy.
Sorry?
Fuel economy is incredible.
Yes, that's good, but we adjusted the cars with a good aerodynamic package, and the engine, the BMW with 12-cylinder engine, is adjusted just right, and this gives a good fuel consumption.
As Charlie said, there is still 8 hours to go, and anything can happen.
All right, thank you, Steve. Sometimes I get 3 and 43 mixed up. It is an extraordinary performance by this BMW team, but we still have a long way to go, working the 113th laps. And of course, as in any timed race, the laps are really irrelevant. We will go for 12 hours, cover all the distance we can between now and then.
Well, the good news is for the Dyson team, with the shuffle there on the pit stops and the full course yellow and the wave by, they got their lap back. So the Dyson team is back on the lead lap with the number 20 car, and the number 26 BMW is also back on the lead lap. So they have 4 cars on the lead lap for the overall lead.
Good look at the difference in body styles between the cars in the various classes here. One of the best Sebring fields ever. Perhaps not the biggest. That number is up in the 80s. But I think every driver out here who has experienced the traffic of all 3 classes and the various speed differentials on the racetrack out here would be the first to say this is a much nicer number than 80.
Well, it's interesting. I wanted to ask Hans about traffic because he's used to driving the bigger, more powerful cars. He's driving one of the slower GT cars here. And I ran into Davy Jones the other day, who is making his racing debut after his nasty accident a couple of years ago in the IRL car. And it's a real adjustment for him. He's driving a GTS car. Real adjustment for these guys.
Speaking of GTS cars, there is the number 56 running second in class right now, a couple of laps behind the class-leading Corvette. Let's go down to Dave.
Well, the 56 is chasing the Corvette number 3. The question for Martin Snow, Patrick Heisman, who's in the car, and Martin's wife, Melanie, is, Melanie, can you guys outlast that Corvette?
Definitely. That's our plan, is to outlast the Corvette. And our car's running strong. Everything's going good. We're having a little problem with the transmission, but we're sure it'll last.
Okay, and Melanie's had a little bit of trouble on the track today, but this is her first 12-hour event. She's an experienced road racer, but she's got to last the 12 hours as well.
We remain under caution. We expect to get a green flag shortly. Lights are out on the safety car. Heading down towards turn number 17. They will then turn onto the pit straightaway and accept the green flag. Our second full course caution coming to an end, and that means we will not get the record, which is 1 yellow flag. A race of 12 hours duration. Absolutely extraordinary achievement. Off the bumpy turn 17 they come. The yellow flag waves, and we have a crowd pushing to the front as we get back underway.
And there's the second of the 2 BMWs, sitting about 6.5 seconds behind this 42 car. And about 16 seconds back is the 20 car, and 18 seconds back the number 26 car. So right now, these 4 cars fairly close, but this 42 car has nice open racetrack ahead. He's going to be able to put in some nice clean laps here and stretch out that lead.
Jörg Buehler got a terrific jump on the field. Here comes the Porsche 911 Evolution, or Evo. Here comes the second BMW in white, going underneath the number 28 GTP car. As we come back up to speed here at Sebring. Working the 5th hour. Just under 8 hours of racing remain. We will go into the darkness where the temperatures will cool, the tire equation will change completely. Many dramatic things can happen. Stand by for more from Sebring. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring is being brought to you by Exxon Superflow Motor Oil. Provides protection that's fast, protection that lasts. And by the Olive Garden. When you're here, you're family. We're about out of time here at Sebring, but we'll be back tonight at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific to wrap up the 47th running of the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring on ESPN2. So join us for that. Here's a look at our overall leaderboard as we head to break. BMW prototypes running first and second over the Ford GTP. Be sure to join us tonight at 10 o'clock for the wrap-up of this event. Coming up next, women's college basketball, the Mideast Region NCAA semifinals. So stand by for that. Until we see you tonight, I'm Bob Varsha for Jeremy Dale, Steve Evans, and Dave Burns. So long from Sebring, Florida. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of the Go Network, go.com. So long, everyone. To Sebring International Raceway, where with barely 8 minutes to go in a 12-hour sports car race, it has come down to this. 2 men, 2 cars, 2 different teams battling for the overall win, and they will almost certainly shatter the all-time record at Sebring for narrowest margin of victory. The most dramatic finish ever. As things currently stand, Tom Christensen in the brand new BMW LMR leads James Weaver of England in the R&S Ford by barely 11 seconds. And Weaver has been taking huge chunks of time off of the former Le Mans champion on the race lead. And here was the moment that gave the 42 car the lead.
James Weaver was not originally scheduled to be in this car. Butch Leitzinger doing a great job in this car, brings it in for the final fuel stop. James Weaver gets in the car, a little bit fresher than Butch Leitzinger, who drove only with 1 co-driver all day. That was Elliott Forbes Robinson. They topped this car up, made a very, very quick pit stop, and got back out onto the racetrack, but they lost the lead.
The new American Le Mans Series could not have a more dramatic debut. With barely a handful of minutes to go as the 42 car with Christensen at the controls came through to take the lead through the daylight hours in this 47th running of the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring. It was the GT categories that gave us all the close racing. But when the sun went down and the attrition set in, it was all the premier GTP class. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with Jeremy Dale, Steve Evans, and Dave Burns, still down in the pit lane for the dramatic final moments of this race. Now let's get more on the GTP story. Can the BMW hang on to win its debut race? Here's Steve Evans.
I can't get a signal out of here. We're down here in the BMW pits. I don't know if you can see our picture. It's very difficult to get a signal out of here. Gernhard Berger, who is the great Formula One driver and now chief of BMW Motorsports operations all over the world, trying to get a word with him. Mr. Berger, just 1 second, if we could. Just 1 second. Well, apparently too busy to talk to us, but I tell you, it has been a tense moment here as that 20 car really put up a final fight in the last few minutes. Dave?
Steve, Team Dyson retired the 16 car, and then they had 4 drivers they could choose from to put in the car, the 20 car. Pat Smith, team manager, why did you decide to put James Weaver in out of all the drivers you had?
Well, James has been the fastest, and we've tried some softer tires on the 16 car, and he was considerably faster than anybody on the track, so we figured we'd put him and those tires on the 20 car and let him go. And he's within 10 seconds. I don't know if he's going to make it or not.
All right, they're hoping, and he has a very soft compound still on the car, so he's trying to track him down.
Back in 1970, the Ferrari factory team behind Mario Andretti won by just 22 seconds over Steve McQueen and Peter Revson in a Porsche. The gap right now is 9.5 seconds. We'll be back. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring is being brought to you by Exxon Superflow Motor Oil. Provides protection that's fast, protection that lasts. And by the Olive Garden. When you're here, your family. Well, we hope you all enjoyed the soccer game. Live action here at Sebring could not be more dramatic. The gap from Tom Christensen in the race-leading BMW to James Weaver in that car, the number 20, Riley and Scott Ford, is now barely 8.4 seconds. But the laps are winding down, and we expect the white flag for the race leader next time by. One more lap of this 3.7-mile racetrack that has seen so many dramatic moments in the 46 previous runnings of the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring. There is the number 42 BMW. Only 7 times in the history of this race has the pole sitter gone on to win the race. And what an amazing moment it would be for this BMW built by the Williams Grand Prix operation in England. The car only turned a lap for the first time 2 months ago, but J.J. Leto put it on pole with a record-breaking average speed of over 121 miles an hour. And though they have suffered their bumps and bruises throughout the day, the team of Christensen, Leto, and Jörg Müller of Germany have been absolutely bulletproof, putting the car into the lead and holding on now.
And obviously the experience they gained at Le Mans last year really played a role in the design and build manufacture of this car, but the execution has just been brilliant here at Sebring this week. They've been fast all week. They've done a great job. Just a phenomenal effort by this BMW team.
If they can hold on as the white flag waves over Tom Christensen and the BMW, it will be the first ever overall victory here at Sebring for Michelin tires. Remarkable considering that French rubber company's long history in motorsports. The gap beginning the last lap out to 8.8 seconds.
Phenomenal performances by both teams. The Dyson team, the BMW team. This BMW, the class of the field. Very, very fast race car. Great drivers, all 3 of them. Of course, former Le Mans winners, but the Dyson team has put up a fight, and these guys will be the first to tell you how hard it has been.
In the GTS class, a Porsche leads in the hands of the husband and wife team of Martin and Melanie Snow and Porsche Super Cup veteran Patrick Heisman, and a Porsche 911 also leads the GT category. And for Kelly Collins and Bud Friedman, a victory here at Sebring would mean a sweep of the 24 Hours of Daytona and the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring.
This is Christensen coming up on one of the Audis, flashing the lights. Let me through.
Day it's been here at Sebring with a handful of leaders in each of our classes. And as it always seems to happen in endurance racing, the ebb and flow of competition sometimes leads to massive margins of victory, and sometimes even after 12 hours of racing at a sprint pace, it comes down to something like this. 8 seconds between the top 2 teams. Checkered flag is up and it waves. Victory and pole for the brand new BMW V12 LMR, and for the driving team of J.J. Leto, Tom Christensen, and Jörg Müller. Finishing second unofficially, Dyson Racing will be back to start meeting our winners in just a moment. Celebrations are continuing. There's Gerhard Berger, motorsports manager and former Formula One driver, running BMW's operation. And what a success he is having as his team of Tom Christensen, J.J. Leto, and Jörg Müller bring the BMW V12 LMR to victory. In the other classes, in the GTS category, Martin and Melanie Snow and Patrick Heisman bring their Porsche home in first place. In the GT category, Kelly Collins, Darrell Avens, and Kurt Wagner emerge victorious. Right now, joining us here in our announce booth, the founder of the American Le Mans Series and the head of Panos Motorsports, Mr. Don Panos. Nice way to open your new series, sir. What'd you think of the race?
Well, as the Irish say, it's like all your birthdays came at once.
Boy, I guess.
You know, the crowd and the fans have just responded to good racing, a good competition, a show that we put on, and we couldn't be more delighted. And I booked this weather last December, so everything's worked out fine today.
No rain delays. You must be thrilled, though, with the arrival of this BMW team and the Audi team. I mean, it's so exciting, and I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah, and you consider, you know, these are factory teams. They're very well planned out with their budgets, and this wasn't on their schedule.
Right.
When they were planning their assault on Le Mans this year in June. And they've decided that Sebring and the American Le Mans Series is a good way to start off to get prepared for Le Mans, and we got them here. We probably won't see them at the next race because, like I said, it wasn't in their schedule. But they'll be back here in after Le Mans, and they'll be racing. I think just BMW and today, we got to give them credit. You know, they won at Daytona. And we got to acknowledge that the Audi, you know, Audi came here, they hadn't raced at all. They didn't even have a prototype like BMW did last year, and they were third. And there was the Porsche, our old nemesis, the old GT1 Porsche champion car, coming in there for fourth today. I think when you look at this field and you look at the competition, I think you have to admit that the fans certainly got their money's worth today.
Absolutely. Tough day for your team personally, though, sir.
Well, they've explained to me, you know, this is my second anniversary of racing.
I was here 2 years ago.
Yeah. And they explained to me that this is motor racing. That was a puncture and a broken muffler. So, you know, we didn't have good luck today, but that's racing.
I guess I have to ask you, with a record crowd today and the performances we've just witnessed here on the racetrack, how do you follow this act?
Well, I don't know how we're going to follow it, but it's the fans that are making it happen. And you know, our logo says "for the fans," and we started looking up, I think, a couple years ago and realizing the fans really weren't paying attention. And I think they're coming back. They're coming back in droves. We had a great success at Petit Le Mans, 40,000. Somewhere around 140,000 for the week this week, which is a phenomenal result in sports car racing. That's up 30,000 in last year.
Well, we wish you all the luck. A fantastic debut. Wish you all the luck all year.
Jeremy, thanks a lot. Bob, thanks a lot. And we'll see you later on, huh?
Thank you for
very
having
much.
us.
Okay.
That's Mr.
Bye-bye.
Don Panos. Victory laps being completed out on the racetrack. Let's get down to our Suzuki winner's circle now and Steve Evans.
Hey, Steve Evans, it is being crushed by a mass of humanity in the designated winner's circle here as Tom Christensen brings home the car that J.J. Leto started exactly 12 hours ago. Mueller, of course, filled in and throwing the gloves to the admiring photographers and fans. Now the car is rolling over my big toes. That's special. As soon as Tommy can get his helmet off, I'm sure to be joined by his teammates. And back, there is J.J. Leto. And there is Mueller. The three young drivers who did such a brilliant job. I'm trying to get in here so I can get a hat off, guys. Tom. JJ, quick. Did you know this morning what a great race car you were going to have, JJ? We're just about out of time here, buddy, please. Did you know what a great race car this was truly going to be today?
Well, it was really close in the end, you know. I mean, we didn't expect that it's going to be so competitive all the way to the end, but, you know, the BMW lasted very well, you know. We didn't have any problems, so the whole team is really happy.
Let's send it back up to the booth, Bob.
And so Sebring has another page in its storied history book, a new record margin of victory. We'll be back to meet more of our winners when we return. Sebring International Raceway, where the celebrations continue. Let's get down to Dave Burns standing by with a representative of our GTS class winners.
And that is Patrick Heisman. And Patrick, standing here with Carter Martin Snow, you guys weren't supposed to beat the Corvettes today. How did you do it?
Well, the crew did a very good job. The car was running perfectly all day, and we just kept on going, stayed out of traffic, and we were very good on fuel consumption, and I think that finally made it up for us.
They ran the 12 hours, guys, and that's what it takes.
All right, thanks very much, Dave. Congratulations to Martin and Melanie Snow and Patrick Heisman, GTS class winners. One more class to hear from as the fireworks explode over Central Florida. Stay with us. More from Sebring in a moment. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring is being brought to you by Exxon Superflow Motor Oil. Provides protection that's fast, protection that lasts. And by the Olive Garden. When you're here, you're family. Welcome back live to Sebring International Raceway as the various class winners are introduced to this massive crowd. One more class to hear from. GT, here's Dave Burns.
Kelly, the BMW M3s and the other Porsches gave you fits all day. How tough was it to beat them in the final hours?
Well, I'll tell you what, the hardest thing to beat was just ourselves. The last hour and a half, we lost third gear. I had to drive around in second, fourth, and fifth, and putting up with traffic. I actually made headway on a lot of cars, and it was awfully difficult. I give all the credit to the ARE team, the whole team, Daryl and the Alex Job Racing, and my partners, Court Wagner, Daryl Havens. It was tough. It was really tough.
All right, Kelly Collins brings him home, and guys, I think he's ready for a nap.
I'll bet. Congratulations to Kelly Collins, Darrell Havens, and Court Wagner on their sweep of the 36 Hours of Florida. Here's a look at the final results of the 47th running of the Superflow 12 Hours at Sebring. Not since 1975, when Brian Redmond, Sam Posey, Alan Moffat, and Hans Stuck put a BMW CSL in victory lane, has BMW been here. But boy, they did it with style, Jeremy Dale.
Well, that is a classic sports car race. Mechanical diversity, great competition, the closest finish on record. Phenomenal race, phenomenal debut for the American Le Mans Series. Can't wait for Le Mans.
No question about it. A great, great weekend of racing here at Sebring once again. It has been hectic, but it has been enjoyable. A new record, officially 9.29 seconds, the smallest margin of victory for the overall win in the history of this fabled race. And so now a new roster of champions go into the record book, and a crowd of some 100,000 will go home happy. Coming up next, NCAA Women's Basketball Midwest Region Finals. Stand by. For Jeremy Dale, Dave Burns, and Steve Evans, I'm Bob Varsha. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of Go Network, go.com. So long from Sebring.